Hi everybody, welcome back to Tips for You. Well, I haven't seen you guys in a while and I've really missed you. I've changed my schedule around, so now I'm going to have more time to upload videos. And I've got a great series coming up, and it's going to be on body language and how to read body language so that you can interpret what someone is saying and really understand the true meaning of what they're saying. And I find it very fascinating, and I'm really good at it. Always have been, but I'm very sensitive and intuitive, and I very carefully watch people when they're talking. And it's something that women are very good at, much better at than men. But it can be learned. If you learn to train yourself, you can look for the gestures and you can start becoming sensitive to it. Did you know that that's what a lot of fortune tellers do? A lot of people who read tarot cards and fortune tellers, they don't know you. You'll go in, sit down, talk to them. They're paying very close attention to your body language and how you respond to things. And they kind of guide the questioning to what's very commonly asked or told about people's lives. And based on how you react and what you're doing at the time, they can see if they're on the right track. So we can be our own little fortune tellers, figuring out what people are really thinking if we really become in tune to it. So why don't we get started? And the first topic I wanted to cover about body language is, how do you know if someone is lying to you? That's a really good one, and women are much better at figuring out if a man is lying than a man figuring out whether a woman is lying, because men are just not as perceptive to the body language, so it's a lot easier for the women to pull the wool over the man's eyes. Now, what are some gestures? And these gestures really can't be looked at independently. You have to look at them kind of in a cluster. So you have to listen to what you're hearing, you have to watch what the person is doing, and you have to see sometimes if you see more than one. And many people have their own little tics and things that they do when they're telling a lie. Like, for example, when my husband is telling a little fib, I noticed that he sometimes suddenly will yawn. He'll just go, "Oh, well, something like that." And I know right away that he's not telling me the truth about something. And everybody tells little white lies here and there. I mean, that's just more for the other person in a socially accepted way. But if you've got something important and someone's telling you something and you don't know whether to trust what they're saying or not, here's where watching the body language becomes really important. So, the first gesture to be aware of to determine whether somebody may be lying versus what they're saying to you, and that is pulling at the ear. Somebody just momentarily pulls at their ear. Sometimes people put their finger in their ear and just go around in a little wiggle like that. They can go behind the ear, graze the ear, but if they're talking to you and say they're looking away, that's another thing, and they grab their ear or they play with their ear, be aware, start looking for other things. Start really listening to what's being said and watching, because it could be that you're about to hear a lie. Another gesture, the mouth cover. So when somebody is telling you something, and these things are subtle, so you have to pay attention. It's not like they're just going to come right at you. If a little child is telling a lie, sometimes they'll just go, and they'll just, and they'll, I burned my homework, something like that. But as people get older, they become more refined and more subtle. So a person who's lying just might go like this, or like this, putting their finger up and down across their mouth, or just to the side. Or they might just go like this, or they may just cover their mouth and just put their hand there. Anything that you see where the person's hand goes to cover the mouth or touch near the mouth that way could be that they are aware, their body is aware that what's coming out of their mouth is not true. And their body is reacting even though they are in control of what they're saying. Many times you can tell a lie and you can rehearse it and practice it. And women's lies, by the way, are much more elaborate than men's lies. Men are just Not as good as making an elaborate story. They'll just be like, well, I missed the bus, something like that, where women will have a whole big, well, I couldn't find my other shoe, and so I ran to the door, and I couldn't looking around, and then finally I found it, and then I got in the car, and it's just a more elaborate story, and sometimes it's more believable. They give a lot of detail around it, and so you're more apt to believe it. Whereas a man being so short and sweet with it, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, sure, you don't believe it as easily. So another gesture to be aware of, and that would be the nose touch. It's a very common one. And it's very subtle and it's very quick, but it's just a little like that. Just a little touch or a little something. It doesn't have to be, how do you know if it's just out there itching their nose? Well, if you're itching your nose, it's more like you're deliberately going to scratch it, and you'll just go like this or rub it or whatever you got to do to get rid of the itch. But if you're talking and you're lying, generally you might just give a little something, just a subtle little something, and it's just for the person who's listening, be aware. They did a study watching Bill Clinton when he was on trial about Monica Lewinsky, and they say that every time he lied, he touched his nose. And he touched his nose something like 26 times throughout the inquiry. And when he wasn't lying, he didn't touch his nose. So these things are studied. And politicians are often very interesting people to watch, whether they're lying or not, because they're very aware of body language. So they will try to suppress whatever reaction they may be thinking inside by knowing what these basic body language things are, so that when we're watching them on television or whatever, we believe what they say and we don't get distracted by the hidden signals that we're picking up from their body language. So another signal that somebody may be lying to you is called the eye rub, and it may be that they will just rub their eyes. Women generally don't rub their eyes the way men do. Men, if they're lying, will rub their eyes, and they will, really rub their eyes or do something more noticeable with their eyes. But women, because we wear makeup, we may not want to smudge anything. Sometimes we'll just go near the eye, or just, touch an eyelash, or move our hair away from our eyes, or something near the eyes, but it's much more subtle. With men, they tend to rub the eyes, look away. They're fussing with their faces. Now my nose is itching, but that's just because I'm outside on this lovely day and my allergies are bothering me a little bit. But so that's not a lie. Another gesture would be the neck scratch. So if they're talking to you and saying, well, I got detained last night, I was out, and then they just subtly scratch their neck sort of near their ear, that's a sign that they could be lying to you, or here comes the lie, and they go to scratch the neck. Another one is the collar, loosening the collar. So if they're, talking to you and you see them start to loosen the collar's getting tight a little bit around the neck, that might be a sign as well. And a lot of these gestures actually have scientific basis behind them. And it's due to when you lie, even if it's rehearsed, your body tends to react. That's how lie detectors work. So there's a rise in blood pressure, and there's blood that flows. The blood that flows to the nose causes a tingling sensation as the capillaries expand, and that's what makes you go, it's you don't realize it's happening, but you just go to your nose like that, because you just feel something subconsciously there. The same with the collar. With the rise in your blood pressure, and sometimes you get hot. That's where the expression hot under the collar, get hot, maybe a little sweaty or something, and you feel suddenly constricted, so you want to loosen the collar. So these are all signs that you can use to try to watch someone to see if you think they're lying to you. And when a detective interrogates a criminal, generally they put them in an open room on a chair with nothing around them, and they fire questions at them so they can watch all the body language as the person is answering the questions. Because if they were behind a desk or behind a chair, or anytime you're blocking your body, it's a lot easier to get away with a lie because you're not showing your body language. It's a lot easier to hide it. The best way to hide a lie is over the phone or through an email, obviously, because a person isn't seeing you at all. Again, seeing the person and judging their body language, you almost get a gut instinct or a feeling. You may not even be aware of it, but when you walk away, you say, gee, I have a hunch that that guy is just not what he says he's going to be. Like if you're interviewing someone or, for a job and he's saying one thing, but he's looking around and he's touching his ear and he just looks unsettled to you, you may be picking up that there's something off. And you may get a gut feeling that this isn't someone you want to hire. Well, that gut feeling is you paying attention to the unspoken subliminal messages that are sent out by his body that you're picking up, and you're registering that in your brain while you're listening, and you're walking away with a feeling. And that feeling is that there's something more to the situation. He's hiding something. And that's why I always say trust your gut instinct, because we as human beings, we pick up so much of our environment without realizing it. Our perception is so sensitive. And again, women, much more perceptive than men. And actually, women who've had children are the most perceptive because they've spent years trying to figure out, the unspoken signals of a baby and their child. Because children, before they speak, they will do different things to let you know what they need or what they want, or if they're in pain or whatever. And you learn to read that, and you become even more perceptive. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you're really interested in body language, I've got a lot more to come, including, how to know if someone likes you. That should be interesting. So please subscribe. That way you'll be notified when I upload a video. And I have something of interest to everyone. I have more to come to on other things. And please visit me at my blog spot. And also I'm on Facebook and Twitter. So please visit me there, and we'll stay connected there as well. And thanks so much for viewing. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.